beautiful. You're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Up early this morning, and I know God smiled on me. Ain't no time to sleep, no, no. I can't wait to start my day because I know it's gonna be beautiful like me. Hey, you're so beautiful. You're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Hey, you're so beautiful. You're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. I look into my mirror, I love everything I see. Ain't no mistakes on me, no. I always remind myself there ain't no other me. Can't nobody else be. Hey, you're so beautiful. You're the truth, and you remind it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. You can have it all, yeah. Hey you, hey you, hey you, hey you, hey you. Hey you, you're so beautiful. You're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Hey you. You can have it all, yeah.
And hello, welcome to this edition of Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends Radio. Thank you for tuning in from all around the world. I hope this day finds you blessed and reflective and in a state of gratitude. So we have a bunch of things that we're going to be talking about today. Some scandals, movie news, TV, fashion. But the first thing I want to start off talking about today, I've been kind of sitting on this for a week or two since a situation happened to me. And then when I was coming in studio and leading into the show, we were running a bit of a journalist that was engaged in conversation on whether or not the Black Lives Matter movement is a terrorist organization and asking people to weigh in on that. And, you know, I'd like to take some time to speak on that topic. As anyone who knows me and follows me knows that I and my show, me as a brand and as a person, is that I'm out there front and center of fighting and standing up against all forms of discrimination and injustices. I marched for funding for the arts, government programs, you know, and I have, whether you want to call it the Black Pride movement, now Black Lives movement, you know, I have always been someone who's been at front and center, standing in support and shedding light on things to try and open up people's minds to the parallel realities that exist in our country for people of color and of not of color, and doing my part in my section of the world to try and make things better. So recently I had a situation where one of my former colleagues had been attempting to bully me and shame me for being in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, and had repeatedly been painting that organization as a terrorist organization, and that's actually against white people and sexist and all this stuff, and sending me, propaganda to support that and all this stuff. And I've heard people say this on social media here and there and on the news, and especially going back a couple months ago, when things came to a head with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and unfortunately there's been more cases of police brutality since then. And there was the looting, and it's been established that there were outside organizations who were brought in, who actually were a part of the NRA and different conservative groups, who were brought in by those organizations to infiltrate peaceful Black Lives Matter protests and bring them to a state of violence, to then discredit the peacefulness and legitimacy of the Black Lives Matter movement. So, of course, to anybody who's not going to take the time to do research, they're going to just look at those sound bites and that footage, and then to maybe some of the closed-minded teachings that they mirror from people in their lives that they respect. So I want to take a minute to break through all that misinformation, or if you just don't have maybe one opinion or another about the Black Lives Movement, but you don't really know what they stand for, what they're about, if you're living under a rock and don't know why people are protesting. I want to read some of the principles of the Black Lives Matter organization, which is not a terrorist organization. It is an organization like the ACLU and NAACP that is fighting for justice, freedom, and the rights of all people of color. So this is coming right from the Black Lives Matter website. So if you don't know, you need to educate yourselves and not jump to assumptions. We see ourselves as part of the global Black family, and we are aware of the different ways we are impacted or privileged as Black people who exist in different parts of the world. We are guided by the fact that all Black lives matter, regardless of actual or perceived sexual identity, gender expression, economic status, ability, disability, religious beliefs or disbeliefs, immigration status, or location. We make space for transgendered brothers and sisters to participate and lead. We are self-reflective and do the work required to dismantle cisgendered privilege and uplift Black trans folk, especially Black trans women who continue to be disappropriately impacted by transgendered antagonistic violence, hence Breonna Taylor being killed in her own home. All right, so we build a space that affirms Black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, and environments in which men are centered. We practice empathy. We engage comrades with the intent to learn about and connect with their context. That means they're an organization that seeks out the support and collaboration of people not like them to come to a common understanding and understand each other's cultures and unite together. We make our spaces family friendly and enable parents to fully participate with their children. We dismantle the patriotic practice that requires mothers to work double shifts so that they can mother in private, even as they participate in public justice work. We foster a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather the belief that all in the world are heterosexual, unless people disclose otherwise. We cultivate a communal network free from ageism. We believe that all people, regardless of age, show up with the capacity to lead and learn. We embody and practice justice, liberation, and peace in our engagements with one another. Peace, peaceful. Peaceful, not terrorists. Peaceful. So, Black Lives Matter is an organization that is not only fighting for racial equality, it also fights against sexism, ageism, and economic situations that keep people from leveling up, and all forms of systematic racism. So, an organization that is about peace and collaboration and respect in its principles is not a terrorist organization. So that is just conservative propaganda, which is trying to get people paranoid and whipped up because, of course, of organizations like the ACLU, NAACP, Black Lives Matter movement, and on. If we all unite, that means that there's a large sect of people who are going to have to step outside of their comfort zone and can't walk around in a bubble of privilege. So, saying that an organization is a terrorism, that's powerful and damning and hateful language. So if you're going to support language, make sure you do your research and really know the principles of the organization that you're talking about. And no organization who is about peace and fighting against sexism and all forms of discrimination would have propaganda out there supporting violence or other hateful speech or actions. So when you see things like that, you have to use your brain and question and think, what's the agenda of the person who created this? And the agenda of the person who sent it. It sounds more like their agenda than the organization. Don't take things at face value, especially when we're talking about politics and religion and all these complicated issues. Don't just throw out labels and assumptions without actually taking the time to do the research and find out what things are really about. At the end of the day, all these organizations and things, we're all fighting for the same thing, which is equal fiscal opportunity for everybody, equal protection under the law, being treated with respect, feeling safe in your own home, right? Equal exposure to the arts, having the same level to get a leg up with hard work. All right, programs that protect us and not feeling afraid of our police or feeling like we don't have the same chance as everybody else. So, take the time to do the research on things and come to your own conclusion, especially now that we're in election season. There's, again, a lot of stuff being thrown out there, and take the time to actually do the research and don't just develop your opinions based on what someone who has their own prejudices is saying. Actually take the time to see, To me, all these groups, it's also about compassion, humanity, empathy. We all want the same things in life. We all want the same things in life. And we all should be treated with the same level of respect and opportunity. So we're going to take our first musical break. And when we come back, some big scandals broke this week. So Hot 97 FM in New York is in the midst of a hotbed scandal. So we're going to dive into that in a minute. So keep it locked into Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends Radio, and we'll be right back after this.
Sometimes life can make you crazy. It can really put your body to the test. You try so hard to make sure everything goes right, and you find you've only wound up with a mess. It's a common situation, even though you feel abandoned and alone. Child, you ain't the first to experience a hurt, so don't panic when you hit the danger zone. What you need's a little change of heart, forget this fear and frustration.
Queen bee, want no smoke with me. Okay. Been turn this up 800 degree. Whole team eat chefs cause she's a treat. Ooh, she's so bougie, bon appetit.
I'm a savage, attitude nasty. Talk big, but my bank account match it. Hood, but I'm classy. Rich, but I'm ratchet. Haters kept my name in their mouth, now they gagging. Bougie. He say the way that thing move, it's a movie. I told that boy we gotta keep it lowly, me the room key. I done bled the block and now it's hot, bitch, I'm Tunchi. I'm mood and I'm moody. I'm a savage. Classy, bougie, ratchet. Sassy, moody, nasty. Acting stupid, what's happening? What's happening? I'm a savage. Classy, bougie, ratchet. Sassy, moody, nasty. Hacking, stupid, what's happening? What's happening?
Hips tick tock when I dance. On that demon time, she might start her OnlyFans. Big B and that B stand for bands. If you wanna see some real, baby, here's your chance. I say left cheek, right cheek, drop it low and swing. Texas up in this thing, put you up on this game. I be parking my frame, gang, 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 gang. If you don't jump to put jeans on, baby, you don't feel my pain. Please don't give me hype, write my name in ice. Can't argue with these lazy I just raised my price. I'm a boss, I'm a leader. I pull up in my two-seater and my mama was a savage. Got this from Tina, I'm a savage. Yeah.
Classy, bougie, ratchet. Yeah. Sassy, moody, nasty. Yeah. Acting stupid, what's happening? What's happening? I'm a savage. Yeah. Classy, bougie, ratchet. Yeah. Sassy, moody, nasty. Yeah. Hacking stupid, what's happening? Beyonce, like me. He wanna like the stallion with the knees. He be like, damn, how that thing moving in the jeans. Ay, even D4L couldn't do it like me, like me.
Ooh, I got this body ready just for you. Girl, I hope you don't catch me messing around with you. Talking to myself in the mirror like, do my boo.
Oh, I need a mop to clean the floors, too much drip. Oh, I keep a knot, I keep a watch, I keep a whip. Oh, let's play a game. Simon says I'm still in. I'm still in. Yeah, I'm a savage. Yeah. Classy, bougie, ratchet. Yeah. Sassy, moody, nasty. Yeah. Acting stupid, what's happening? What's happening? I'm a savage. Yeah. Classy, bougie, ratchet. Yeah. Sassy, moody, nasty. Yeah. Hacking stupid, what's happening? What's happening?
They asking for the queen to buy some cameras in here. I'm a bad, she's a savage, no comparison here. I'ma flip my hair and look back while I twerk in the mirror. All this money in a room, think some scammers in here. I'm coming straight up out that third. Whip the whip like I stirred it. Wood grain, we swerving, keeping his mind all on these curves. Coop fly like a bird, hold on him like birds. Always keep my word, no I don't do crosswords. Sell you in a writing like them hot girls, them kids. I hop that shit the way I hopped up and slid. I pop my now watch me pop up again. I mop the float, now watch me sweep up these ends.
I'm savage. Classy, bougie, ratchet. Sassy, moody, nasty. Acting stupid, what's happening? What's happening? I'm a savage. Classy, bougie, ratchet. Sassy, moody, nasty. Hacking stupid, what's happening? What's happening? I'm a savage.
It's the stallion and the bee. H-Town going down.
I didn't ask for a free ride. I only asked you to show me a real good time. I never asked for the rainfall. At least I showed up. You showed me nothing at all. It's coming down on me. Water like misery. It's coming down on me. I'm ready, rain on me. Drop, but at least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, rain, rain.
on me, tsunami. Hands up to the sky. I'll be your galaxy. I'm about to fly. Rain on me.
And welcome back to Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Friends Radio. We're getting your vibe right and your energy up. You know, we can't go to the club, but you know, we can feel the club in our homes. You know, in our cars as we're walking in the park and you know doing what we're doing right now. So we're just rocking out to Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion, feeling a little savage. So music news. So Megan Thee Stallion just announced that she's going to be holding a virtual concert August 29th, so this Saturday. Tickets are only $15, and they're available on Live Nation. So Fantasia was the first one to do this. A lot of musicians like John Legend and Alicia Keys and some others have been doing free concerts. But Fantasia was the first to actually charge. So what these artists are starting to do, which I mean I understand because they need to make their paper, and they can only do so much for free for so long. And touring is the main way a lot of these artists make their money. So they're charging like a small amount, like I'm seeing it's anywhere. Yeah, that's cheap. So it's just to get the link, the private link to log on, and then it gets provided to you when you purchase the ticket. And some of these stars are also doing VIP, like a meet and greet virtually, which is cool. So I mean, $15 to see one of your favorite performers really isn't anything. I mean, when you think about it,
you go to the real concert, you gotta pay for room, board, plane.
Exactly, right. And even if you're just going back and forth the same night, it's still a lot of money for the tickets, food, gas, or if you take train or a lift or however, pigeon, however you get there. So even charging $15 a person, I imagine they're still not making a profit, but it's just a little something. So now I have been waiting and waiting for this collaboration to happen. Okay, so there's going to be a new versus battle. So Swiss Beats and Versus TV just announced that Brandy and Monica are slated to participate in the next Versus, which is going to take place Monday, August 31st. See? So you can watch Megan Thee Stallion on Saturday and Monica and Brandy on Monday.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Right, and of course, we talked about this in previous episode, that they had started out as teenagers, kind of collaborators on some songs, and then their management kind of pitted them against each other, and then they were throwing shade at each other over the years. Then they did another collaborative project, I think maybe 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Then there was shade, then not, then this. So both, right. So it's going to happen August 31st, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's going to be filmed from Tyler Perry's studio. Yeah. So I'm assuming there's going to be lots of social distancing and precautions. It's going to run on the Versus TV Instagram account and also Apple Music. So I'm super excited. Of course, both singers have long lists of arsenals of hits. Of course, Monica's been produced by Jermaine Dupri. Of course, she has hits like That's Why I Love You So Much. Brandy, Sitting Up in My Room. So many hits. Both of them have. Baby, Baby, Baby. Monica, Don't Take It Personal. It's just one of them days. Right? So many hits. And both of them are quality singers. I mean, I feel that Monica has more of a voice than Brandy has. But if you compare Brandy to, say, some other artists, she has more of a voice than them. So it's too, and it all depends on, for you, like, what tones you feel, hey, that person has a great range. Okay. Other people can see someone who only has a little bit of range, say, oh my God, what a powerful voice. But then thinking, okay, well, you haven't heard Aretha Franklin then. Or some of the greats. But it definitely will be this will be a fantastic verses to tune into. So I'm super excited to see that. And I'm excited that I'll be done work in time to scamper home and catch it. So now also in music news, there's a rare Biggie Smalls and Tupac artifact exhibit that's going to be auctioned, rare personal effects, at Sotheby's Auction House September 15th in New York City. So they're going to have a smaller auction on the 14th, but then September 15th is going to be the main auction. So there will be several photographs, personal effects, clothing from Tupac and Biggie Smalls. So the highlight items that they're marketing is they're auctioning off Biggie Smalls' crown that he wore to many of his appearances and album covers. And they're also auctioning off 200 love letters that Tupac wrote between 1987 and 89 when he was in high school. He must have had a lot of girlfriends that he was chasing to write 200 love letters in 2 years. I have a feeling they weren't all to the same person. Right? Right, exactly. Wait, what? I know you've been gone for 25 years, but I thought it was all me you were into. Right? So the auction is going to benefit, part of the proceeds will benefit the Queens Public Library Foundation. So that's exciting. And again, it is open to the public. So some of the items they're saying are going to be between $60,000 and $80,000. That's not what the average Joe and Jane can afford, but I'm sure there'll be other things that are a lower price point. So now in other musical news, Jamie Lynn Spears, who of course is Britney Spears' sister, and Jamie Lynn is an actress and singer in her own right, as many of you may know and be aware of. About 10 years ago or so, Britney Spears had a nervous breakdown, which kind of gradually unfolded in the public and in press. And sadly, at the time, a lot of people in media and entertainment news weren't kind to her as she was going through her evolution with her then undiagnosed, or just we didn't know, like that she was bipolar. But when she was running around shaving her head and locking herself in bathrooms and carrying on in a way she normally didn't, clearly something was wrong with her. And it just always made me sad that at the time, instead of being respectful of one of our icons, so many people just jumped to mock her and make fun of her when clearly she was struggling. And then, of course, she later then had the episode where she, had to go to the hospital, and then her father took over her estate for a long time. And then, of course, she had her residency in Las Vegas, and earlier this year, pre-COVID, she had come out and said that, look, I have to take care of myself and different things going on with me, and I'm just not going to be performing for a while, which I admire her for that, to actually have the courage and self-love to stop the machine, to just take care of herself so she didn't lose herself. Now, since then, of course, her father had been the executor of the estate, which means that he's running her finances and most likely like putting her on an allowance and for the kids and whatnot. So that way, with the ups and downs of her condition, she didn't go on like manic highs and spend through her money. So, earlier this year, Brittany had requested that her father no longer be her conservator. So this week, the family just came to the agreement that Jamie Lynn will actually be in charge of Brittany's estate when Brittany passes, and she will ensure that all the assets and her cash will be used for Brittany's children, and in all the ways that she directs things to be executed after her death. So Brittany has asked for a 6-month extension. The court reviews her request to have her father removed as executor. I know they've kind of had an up and down relationship, and the father apparently signed the papers authorizing or like supporting Jamie Lynn being the executor. And these situations are never easy, but at the same point, I commend Brittany for thinking ahead and planning, because like my dad would always say, life happens whether you plan for it or not. So it's best to plan and be prepared. So many people sadly wait until it's too late to get things in order with their personal affairs, and you're never too young to be thinking, because you just don't know what's going to happen in life. So you're never too young to be thinking about, well, what do you want done with your assets when you pass? How do you want certain things taken care of? So it's important for us to think of those things and not inadvertently leave remaining family members, say, with debt or not enough money to give you a proper service, and all those factors that it's pleasant to think about, but it's a part of life, and the more prepared you are for things, then the more at ease you can be in life. I know some people who actually pay for all those things before they pass away. So when they're gone, it's not on the shoulders of the family who are upset and in grief, So, there's a lot of different ways you can handle these things. But I'm glad that the family has been able to amicably agree to these things and work it out amongst them without things kind of getting nasty and ugly. So we're going to take another musical break, and then when we come back, we're going to jump in right into the Hot 97 FM scandal. So keep it locked into Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren, friends, and we'll be right back after this.
Why do I do this? They keep asking.
Get the music.
This is what I say. I do it for the passion.
We blessed.
You do this for the fame.
That's a damn shame. Hold up.
Yeah.
God gave us all the flame, let it burn.
Burn, burn, burn.
I've been all around the world looking for some love in return.
Let me get some love.
Yeah, you and I, we could have the same damn name,
We are not the same.
but I do it for the passion. You do it for the fame. That's a shame. That's a shame. I remember what the man told me. He said no.
Shut that shit up.
And I said, who the hell are you? 'Cause bitch, I'm no joke.
Bitch, I'm no joke. Don't fuck with me.
He said some days that sun, it don't shine.
Yeah.
And I told him you can still get burned when there's clouds in the sky outside. That's a fact.
Hold up, yeah. Why do I do this? They keep asking.
Yeah.
This is what I say. I do it for the passion.
Passion.
You do this for the fame. That's a shame. Huh.
Yeah.
And everybody keep on asking how it happened. Cause I be on some hot shit.
Yeah.
And God gave us all the flame.
Let it burn.
Yeah. I do this for the passion and the pain.
Hey.
Cause we need that, we need the rain.
We need it.
Stormy weather, put it all in perspective. Let that sunshine show that you're motherfucking reckless.
Yeah.
I'm talking heavy.
Yeah.
Went from a Chevy to a Beamer.
M5.
Condo to the house on the hill, you should have seen it. God gave me that flame, I got a reason. Show you that it don't mean nothing unless you mean it. I remember what the man told me. He said no.
He said no.
And I said, who the hell are you? 'Cause bitch, I'm no joke.
Bitch, I'm no joke. Be fucked with.
He said some days that sun, it don't shine.
Shine, shine.
And I told him you could still get burned when there's clouds in the sky outside.
Sky outside.
Hold up, yeah. Why do I do this? They keep asking.
What?
This is what I say. I do it for the passion. You do this for the fame. That's a shame. Huh. And everybody keep on asking how it happened.
Keep on asking how you do that.
Cause I be on some hot shit.
I be on some hot
And God gave us all the flame.
Burn it up.
God gave us all the flame. Gotta let it burn.
Gotta
Yeah.
let it burn.
But do something in return.
Give a little back.
Like ain't nobody ever tell me shit. I do it for the passion, I'm a motherfucking beast. I've been through the fire and the motherfucking lit. Why do I do this? They keep asking. This is what I say. I do it for the passion. You do this for the fame. That's a shame. Huh. And everybody keep on asking how it happened.
Baby, I got faith.
Cause I be on some hot shit.
Baby, I got faith.
God gave us all the flame.
Let it burn. 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 Gotta let it burn. Gotta let it burn. Gotta let it burn. This little light of mine, I'ma let it shine, shine, shine.
I was a terror since the public school era. Bathroom passes, cutting classes, squeezing asses. Smoking blunts was a daily routine since 13. A chubby nigga on the scene. I used to have the tray deuce and the deuce in my bubble goose. Now I got the Mac in my knapsack, lounging black, smoking sacks up in axe and sidekicks with my sidekicks, rocking fly kicks. Honeys wanna chat, but all we wanna know is where the party at. And can I bring my gat? If not, I hope I don't get shot. Better throw my vest on my chest, cause niggas is a mess. It don't take nothing but front for me to start something. Bugging and bucking at niggas like I was duck hunting. Dumbing out just me and my crew, cause all we wanna do is bullshit, and we party, and 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 bullshit, and we hugs from the honeys, pounds from the roughnecks. See my man say that I knew from the projects. Said he had beef, asked me if I had my piece. Sure do, 222s in my shoes. Holla if you need me, love, I'm in the house. Roman stroke, see what the honeys is about. Moet poppin', hope poppin', ain't no stopping. Big Papa, I'm a bad boy. Niggas wanna front, who got your back? Niggas wanna flex, who gat. It ain't hard to tell I'm the East Coast overdoser. Nigga, you're scared, you're supposed to. Nigga, I toast you. Put fear in your heart. Fuck up the party before it even start. Is he drunk off a Henny and skunk? Or some brand Nubian shit beating down punk? We party up that bullshit. That's that. We party up that bullshit. And 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 we party and bullshit. And bitches in the back looking righteous in a tight dress. I think I might just hit her with a little Biggie 101, how to tote a gun and have fun with Jamaican rum conversation. Blunts in rotation, my man Big Jock got the Glock in his waist and we're smoking, drinking, got the hooker thinking. If money smell bad, then this nigga Big is stinking. Is it my charm? I got the hookers eating out my palm. She grabbed my arm and said, let's leave calm. I'm hitting skins again, rolled up another blunt, bought a Heineken. Niggas start to low out, a kid got choked out, blows were thrown, and a fucking fight broke out. Yo, chill, man, chill. Can't we just all get along so I can put hickeys on her chest like little Sean? Get a pissy drunk off a Dom Perignon, and it's on, and I'm gone. That's that.
Mafia like stuff. Uptown like stuff.
the Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends, and all we are saying is give peace, love, unity, respect, and self-love a chance to make ourselves better and make the world better. So now digging into some hot scandals that are going on right now. First, okay, so Jerry Farwell Jr., who is the son of TV evangelistical preacher Jerry Farwell. And he is the head of Liberty University, which is a Christian school that his father, Pastor Jerry Farwell, founded 50 years ago. Well, his son, Jerry Farwell Jr., is in a big hotbed right now. So a business partner and former friend has made public allegations about the sex life of Jerry Farwell Jr. and his wife. So several weeks ago, Farwell Jr. posted a photo on Instagram showing himself with his pants down.
OMG.
Yeah. And his arm around his wife's assistant. So that's pretty dumb to put that out there. So once that got circulated, Farwell Jr. stepped down for an undetermined leave of absence. So now there's additional allegations saying allegedly that Farwell and his wife Becky had been having threesomes and various sexual scenarios where the wife was doing things, he was watching, sometimes he was participating. The wife was having an improved entanglement situation with this pool boy friend who they paid to take on vacations, and apparently they were in some kind of business scenario together. Farwell kind of did him wrong, and the guy said, well, unless you basically do right by me in business, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. And Farwell was like, well, hey, bring it.
Yeah, because I'm not.
Right, okay. So, and apparently Farwell also sent pictures of his wife in a maid uniform to their personal trainer. And there's also evidence that Farwell has misused university funds for shady real estate deals, and that he fosters a work climate within the staff that is very intimidating, racist, sexist, and homophobic, and that people have been afraid to confront him for a long time. But now that the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, a lot of his co-workers are coming forward making statements and allegations to various journalists and legal officials. So Liberty University has asked him to step down while they investigate everything. And on top of this, Farwell Jr. has been a longtime supporter of President Trump since about 2012. He has not only brought financial donations and resources his way, but Farwell Jr. has used his position within the evangelical community to rally and garner public support for Trump. Now, of course, more and more Republicans who were once in support of Trump are now coming out and aligning with the Democratic Party in support of Biden, and coming out and making statements that they no longer really support Trump and him as a president and his platforms. Now, Farwell Jr. is kind of trying to cry wolf and boo-hoo that people are just lashing out at him because he supports Trump. No, that's just an extra layer. People are coming after him because, of course, he heads a Christian university. They apparently have practices saying that students can't even assemble and dance. They're very strict. Okay, so then you're going to turn around and act like a pillar of the Christian community. Meanwhile, you and your wife are into all this freaky stuff and sideways and three-ways and all this kind of role play and this and that. And, you know, there is actually lifestyle names for some of the stuff that they're apparently into. I really don't feel the need to go that deep into it. But the thing is, if you're acting like you are this chosen ambassador of the Christian interpretation of God's law, you guys are all out here cheating. You know, you're enforcing all these strict rules of behavior with people at your school, yet you're out there swindling people, cheating with your wife, misappropriating funds, all right, swinging from the chandeliers, kind of like pimping your wife out, and all this ratchet stuff. So that's why people are coming for you, because it's called hypocrisy. You put all this kind of behavioral guilt of sinning and damnation and stuff on people, then you better be really walking the straight line, and you better be perfect yourself. None of us are perfect. And we all do what we do, but so long as we're respecting each other and ourselves, and we're treating each other well, and we're walking in honesty. Not to say that means that you have to tell people every single stitch of what you do. No. But if you are going to represent yourself, be honest. And don't act like you have the right to judge people and set the rules of how they should be living their life based on your interpretation of religious teachings. And then you're out there, you know, acting all kinds of crazy fool. So it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves and unfolds, the effect it has on his standing within the religious leadership community. So far, Reverend Falwell hasn't really come out with anything. Of course, his father isn't one who is unfamiliar with scandals, because back in the day, he was his father, Jerry Farwell Sr., the Reverend. He appears in contemporary with Jim and Tammy Faye Baker in the 80s, who had their own ministry, which, I forget, what was it called? Hold on. Let me quick hit the Google, because, you know, I think it was called PTL. Because we're taking it back to the 80s when I was a little kid. So Jim and Tammy F.A. Baker and the PTL Ministries, they were the first TV evangelistical ministers, and as well as Jimmy Farwell and Billy Graham, all at the same time. And so this was before Joel, what's his name, Olsen? I think his name is, and T.D. Banks, and some of the more popular pop culture level preachers. So back in the 80s, you'd have these televangelical preachers, and they'd be raising money on TV and getting people to donate, and a lot of times they'd go to more impoverished neighborhoods, and they really preached very conservative practices, and then, a lot of times they supported Republican politics, and then you find out, well, Jim Bakker was cheating on his wife. Well, he was doing all this embezzling. He actually went to jail. And Jerry Farwell used that time to kind of grab Jim Bakker's grassroots support when he went to jail and kind of boo-hoo-hoo the Bakkers. But then it turned out that Jerry Farwell later was cheating on his wife. And he was doing shady stuff. So oftentimes many of these guys who are put themselves in these positions as religious leaders within the television age, their streets often aren't clean. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. So now in other news, so Hot 97 FM, which has been one of the most influential hip-hop and R&B radio stations in New York City for over 25 years. So they've launched the radio careers of Sway, Sway in the Morning, who was an MTV VJ for a while in the 2000s. Ed Lover, of course, from MTV, Dr. Dre and Ed Lover, MTV Raps, has had a show on Hot 97 FM for a long time. Radio icon Angie Martinez, who of course made a cameo in the cult classic movie Brown Sugar, and Drumline and some other movies, and was released some music herself a number of years ago. She was one of the big faces of Hot 97 for a while, and then she moved to another station this past year. Of course, The Breakfast Club. They broadcast off of Hot 97, and they're like one of the hottest shows nationally. They're syndicated all over the place. Well, Hot 97, they've launched, like I said, they've launched many careers, not only with radio personalities, but they've launched the career of many artists. So in the 90s and mid 2000s, if you were an up and coming artist, getting on Hot 97 and endorsed by Hot 97 could make your career. And then, all the big stars would pass through Hot 97. They launched the career of Tupac, of P. Diddy, and of Notorious B.I.G. So they just fired one of their producers and executives, this gentleman by the name of Patty Duke, who has been with the station for 25 years. Now, the reason why he was fired is pretty alarming, and it's a very multi-layered story. So this past week, there was a documentary released on HBO that revealed that Patty Duke was one of 8 young men charged in the 1989 killing of a young black teenager at the time, Yusuf K. Hawkins. The teenager was 16 years old at the time and was walking around in Brooklyn, in the Bensonhurst part of Brooklyn, which at that time was mainly inhabited by Italians. So he was assaulted by a bat-wielding mob of 30 white youths, one of whom shot him dead. So it was revealed in this film, which I'm shocked that they actually have footage, right? But there's footage of him being questioned by an officer, and Patty Duke, not to be confused with the actress Patty Duke. It's Patty, Paddy. So Patty Duke was one of 8 young men charged in the crime. And at the time, he faced trial for second-degree murder, manslaughter, discrimination, assault, rioting, and other crimes. Now, in 1991, Patty Duke was convicted of rioting, illegal imprisonment, menacing, and weapons possession. But he was acquitted of the murder, manslaughter, and discrimination charges. Now, I don't understand how you're part of a mob wrongfully assaulting a young black teenager who's doing nothing. And they find you guilty of carrying a weapon and all this stuff, but they're saying you're not discriminating. So he was only given probation and community service for possession of a bat as a weapon. Now this case, along with the Central Park 5 case, which of course became a movie and we've talked about on the show, they were 2 of the big cases in the 90s that just sent people into uproar and revolution, because the people who committed these crimes didn't get as strong a sentence as they should have. So now the gentleman who shot Hawkins, his name was Joseph Fama, and he was sentenced to 32 years to life in prison. But the other 8 youths who were part of the situation, the holding him down, the helping to beat him up, the chanting and saying derogatory, racist things, they basically got slaps on the wrists, which outraged people. And, there's actually, there's tape of this Patty Duke guy who saying derogatory racial slurs in the crowd. So then I don't understand then, if you're going to sit here with a straight face and say that our judicial system is fair and isn't crooked, that a white teen can be holding a bat and swinging it around and saying racist comments and being part of a mob, and he's going to get acquitted and said that he wasn't doing discriminatory acts. That math doesn't make sense to me. So now keep in mind, he was put on probation in 1991. Now in 1994, Patty Duke lands a producer job at Hot 97 FM. So he launches the career, as I said, of Jay-Z, Notorious B.I.G., and P. Diddy. Now, the executives at the station, when they see this documentary, they get upset and they kind of do a golly gee willikers. This is horrible. We had no idea that this guy was on staff, and we can't have him stand behind our station, and gee. So they fire him. Okay, cool. But why was he hired in the first place? I don't understand how this guy gets a job at a station who's rebranding itself Because at the time that Patty Duke came to Hot 97, they were changing over to R&B and hip-hop and more urban format. And he was one of the leaders in that. So you were on probation for a racial hate crime, but you got hired at a station that's its main marketing niche is being the voice and platform, of the community. And think of how many stars came through, like in the 90s, 2000s, and now, the Jill Scotts, Maxwell's, all these people. One of their promotional stops to get credibility and endorsement, to get that street cred within the culture, is to pass through that station, right? Publicists, promoters, when artists would launch new music, one of the main markets is to get your stuff on either Kiss FM or 97.5, or Hot 97, and the other. So there's like about 3 big stations in New York. So for East Coast artists, especially hailing from New York, those are the stations you want to launch on first. So then you can get heard in California, in Philly, and other markets, and really pop off, right? A lot of these celebrities have built like interpersonal warm relationships with the radio celebrities who've been there for decades and decades. You get to learn the production crews, the VPs, all that, because you deal with each other as you're passing through. And all that kind of gives that person a slap on the shoulder, like, hey, he's a cool guy. He's for the culture. He supports our culture. Meanwhile, in the parentheses, he was part of a mob that was committing a hate crime against the young black youth. I'm kind of like scratching my head. How does that even get to the point to be? It's so hard to get a job in mainstream radio if that's the direction you want to go, right? And they check all your backgrounds. Even to get an office job, they check all your backgrounds. And this is something that I was talking about when Jeffrey Brown was a guest on our show. And of course, he co-founded his organization Uplift Solutions, which works with prisoners who are returning into society, who have been released and they want to get back to work. And there's so many companies. And it's sad. It's like if you've been rehabilitated and now you want to walk the right path, so to speak, and work and support yourself and stuff, there's so many barriers that keep that from happening because so many companies won't hire you if you have a criminal background. All right, if you want to be an accountant, there's certain trades, if you want to be that, if you have a criminal background, they won't hire you. So, which oftentimes those things then lead people out of desperation back into the land of crime sometimes. And organizations like Uplift Solutions are out here trying to fight that. Now, this dude just walks into this New York radio station, is able to get hired, and then creates this whole facade that he's this cool down guy. Now, after evidence comes out, the station saying, oh, well, gee, nobody at the station knew. The crime only had happened about 4 years prior. It still would have been fresh in his record. So how did he get this job and this job of influence, and he's hiding that all these years? So now think of how all of his peers, well, now former peers, must be feeling, And Hot 97 now is really going to have to struggle, I feel, to get the same level of credibility back that they had before this broke. It just really alarms me that this guy was able to sneak through the cracks, and he hasn't really made any kind of amends or acknowledgement or anything like that. I mean, yeah, we all deserve the right for a second chance and all that stuff. But the first step is actually admitting that you partook in some bad things, and that you realize that it's wrong, and that you're sorry, and that you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to atone for what you did and be a positive member of society and help to use your platform to enlighten people and be a bridge of healing, not a bridge of destruction. So I just find it highly, highly unlikely that nobody, and I'm sure maybe not all the same executive staff is still there that was 25, 30 years ago, but I find it highly unlikely that nobody knew that this guy, even though he changed his name from his actual name, was something Pasquale, but that nobody knew that he had been involved in a hate crime. And they don't think that guests and peers would be uncomfortable and upset to know that this executive had actually been part of a mob trying to beat and kill this black kid. And the other element of this is that this mob, one of the people in the mob was friends with this girl in Bensonhurst. This literally is like a page out of Spike Lee's movies Do the Right Thing and Jungle Fever, where apparently there was this girl in this neighborhood, this Italian girl, much like the plot line of Jungle Fever with Wesley Snipes and Annabella Sciorra, that she was allegedly dating this black guy, and someone in the mob thought that he was that guy. and then rallies all these people to kick the shit out of them. Like, why is that not being addressed? Okay, that's not okay. There's nothing that justifies that, and love is love. So where is it anybody else's place to come at someone in that kind of mentality? So, I hope that more repercussions fall in Patty Duke's lap than him just losing his job, because that's not cool at all, and that's something he should have publicly acknowledged and made a statement on in some degree before now, when it came out in this documentary, because it's actually the 30th anniversary this year of Patty Duke's death, and of course in the wake of the Black Lives Movement and all the police brutality cases that are going on, and everybody mobilizing for social justice reform and all. These cases from the 90s and 2000s are now really coming back into everybody's consciousness. So, it's going to be interesting to see how a Hot 97 spins this one. So we're going to take another musical break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into some beauty and fashion news. So keep it locked into Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends Radio, and we'll be right back after this.
It's too hard to sleep. I got the sheets on the floor, nothing on me. And I can't take it no more, it's 100 degrees. I got one foot out the door, where are my keys? 'Cause I gotta leave, yeah. In the back of the cab, I took the drive, I had a turn, get me the fast. I got your body on my mind, I want it bad. Ooh, just the thought of you from the door. Wearing nothing but a smile, fell to the floor. And you whisper in my ear, baby, I'm yours. Ooh, just the thought of you gets me so high, so high, so high. Girl, you the one I want to hold it. And if you want me, girl, you got me. There's nothing I know I wouldn't do, just to get up next to you. Girl, you the one I want to hold it. And if you want me, girl, you got me. There's nothing I know I wouldn't do, just to get up next to you. Just to get up next to you. Just the thought of you gets me so high, so high. Ooh, just the thought of you gets me so high, so high. Girl, you're the one I want to hold it. And if you want me, girl, you got me. There's nothing I know I wouldn't do, just to get up next to you. Girl, you're the one I want to hold it. And if you want me, girl, you got me. There's nothing I know I wouldn't do, just to get up next to you. I would do anything just to get up next to you. Anything and everything just to get up next to you. Baby, just to get up next to you. Get up, get up. Good golly, Miss Molly, sure like the bone. Good golly, Miss Molly, sure like the bone. When you're rocking and a rolling, can't hear your mama call. From the early, early morning to the early, early night, when they call Miss Molly rocking at the house of blue light. Good golly, Miss Molly, sure like the bone. When you're rocking and a rolling, can't hear your mama call. Mama, Papa told me, son, you better watch yourself. If the new Bobby's Molly had to watch my Papa myself. Good golly, Miss Molly, sure like the bone. When you're rocking and a rolling, can't hear your mama call. Good golly, Miss Molly, sure like the bone. Good golly, Miss Molly, sure like the bone. When you're rocking and a rolling, can't hear your mama call. Going to the corner, gonna buy a diamond ring. When you hug me, kiss me, make me ting-a-ling-a-ling. Good golly, Miss Molly, sure like the bone. When you're rocking and a rolling, can't hear your mama call.
Oh, excuse me, let you know the time on how I feel and what's on my mind. Is you that I wanna be in my life, and if it's possible, you will be my wife. I'll lead you in the right direction, of course. Never play you out, so there's no loss. I'll be your love daddy, just wait and see that me and you, we were meant to be. Like a queen, cook and clean, get your bubble bath ready so I can rub you with Noxine. And watch how gentle I'll be when I rub your back. And after that, there's dinner and cognac. A little romance for the quiet storm. And a lot of loving for the whole night long. I'm gonna caress your body and give you a kiss. And rub you down where you've been missed. Nibble on your navel and kiss your thigh. Play with your hair, cause I'm on a love high. Well, I don't know, it's the way that I am. Introduce me to your mother and I'll say hello, ma'am. Well, I don't know, it's the way I was brought up. Respect my female and never get caught up in another affair. And I believe the same, and if you try to be slick, then the doors will open. Yeah, you know, sweetheart, I told you once, and I don't feel I have to tell you anymore. It's you that I want, and it's you that I'll do for. Since we both know what we want, let's get it together and fly like two birds up a feather. Cause I'ma protect me and look out for my feelings, and that's why I always try to be loyal and gentle and let observe the females in case I must leave camp. And if I have to break out, you don't deserve to live the good life and love the black hummingbird. It may be sexy, but it is true. If you try to taunt me, then I'ma adore you. But if you treat me right, then I'll treat you with open arms and a rose just to greet you. Love you dearly, respect and care for you, my dear. So how could you ignore the way I feel? It's real from the start. So I stop playing games and master the art.
So welcome back to Style Empowerment Chat with Lauren Friends Radio. So we're here applauding you and all the good things that you're doing. And, you know, I know that many of us are feeling, we all are dealing with some degree of anxiety and kind of sadness and depression, because we all try and rock through this COVID time and not being able to do all the things that we want to do safely like before. But the more that we stay safe and follow precautions, the sooner we'll all be able to do all the things that we love and do in a more fuller way. But this time it is really a valuable time for us to connect with family and friends and loved ones and be creative and goal set and think of all the things that we want to accomplish. This is a great time for laying foundations for future plans and investing in yourself, educating yourself, and doing a lot of self-care, which is really important. So, now speaking of self-care, so in beauty and fashion news, on Sunday, J-Lo elusively confirmed via her Instagram that she in the near future will be launching J-Lo Beauty. So another celebrity throwing their hat into the beauty ring. So she posted this picture of herself all glowed up and everything, and looking fab. So of course J-Lo has just been a figure of beauty and fashion and glam for over 25 years. Of course, years ago, she put her finger in her foot in the ring, so to speak, with her clothing line, J-Lo, with all those tracksuits and jeans and activewear, and then that company got bought out, and then for a while she was doing purses and accessories and whatnot. And so now it looks like she's segueing into beauty. So we'll keep our eyes out for that. And Alicia Keys is partnering with e.l.f. Cosmetics. Of course, e.l.f. Offers a wide array of foundations and powders and lip glosses and eyeshadows. So she'll be launching a new lifestyle beauty brand. The new brand will have an inclusive point of view and will be comprised of skin-loving dermatologist developed cruelty-free products, as well as exploring inner beauty and wellness. So they're expecting it to launch within 2021. Now, this is kind of an interesting move for Alicia Keys, who, of course, in past years has spoken out with companies like Proactive about some of her skin conditions and rosacea and different things that, you know, she's dealt with that many people do. But a few years ago, she started this whole natural movement, going without makeup on the red carpet and TV shoots and encouraging other women to go without makeup. I remember there was this time she came on the talk show The Real, and caused quite a stir when it was either The Real or The View. I think it was The View. So all the hosts of the show sit there taking off all their makeup and everything, you know, to quote, be real. And so she has been a big advocate of being makeup free and natural and everything. And so it's interesting that now she's coming out with a makeup line. So I'm interested, well, does that mean that now she's gonna not be going without makeup, or is the line gonna kind of be a more natural, dewy looking product line, or will it be high pigment, dramatic, and glossy? So that's going to be really interesting. And people have really weighed in on either end of the fence with this. Some people will say that, oh, well, makeup, if you're heavy into makeup, that you don't love yourself, you don't have good self-esteem, that you're trying to reinvent yourself or be somebody else. Now, I feel there are some women like that, but there's also lots of women like myself. I can go without makeup, but in a professional environment or event, of course, I'll put makeup on. I love makeup because it's fun, and you can change your looks and your coloring and express yourself. And I love body paint too, and really creative makeup. That's fun, and it's fun to dress up and experiment with different parts of ourselves. But within that, of course, you always have to love yourself at the core. But you know, some women they feel more confident, feel more themselves when they're in makeup. It's not that they don't love themselves at the base, but it just they enjoy wearing makeup. And really, if you go back hundreds and hundreds of years, makeup has been something that's been around for a very long time. Even in the tribes of Africa, where they would put different indigenous face paint on. The warriors would have various paint on their body to signify their tribe, their ranking, their position. In a Victorian time, of course, men wore face powder and lipstick. I don't think that there's anything wrong with makeup if it's just an extension of yourself, your creativity, when it's fun and whatnot. But then on the other hand, it is concerning when you do have that percentage of women who, I don't feel good about myself unless I wear makeup, or whenever I wear makeup, I totally make myself look completely different than who I am organically underneath. So, but then there are lots of women who love not wearing makeup, and that's how they feel confident. But then on the other hand, there are women who they love makeup. So I feel that makeup is a personal thing. It's something that's different with each person. But I'm just really intrigued to see, from a branding point of view, how Alicia Keys who is an amazing woman, is so talented and powerful and positive and philanthropic, and just a great person. I think it's awesome that she's moving into the entrepreneurial lane. I'm really excited and interested to see how she's going to impact the market like Rihanna. And I know that she'll be doing empowering and uplifting marketing as she tries to positively impact beauty standards. I'm just a little intrigued that someone who said that they were going without makeup and encouraging other women to is now opening up a makeup line. So now, luxury stationery and lifestyle brand Mont Blanc, who of course makes luxury pens and stationery, watches, and other lifestyle products, they have they are now in a process of rebranding and shifting their marketing strategies. They are tapped Oscar-winning film director and activist and all-around amazing human being Spike Lee for its latest ad campaign called "What Moves You Makes You." So they're now moving in the direction of creating empowering ad campaigns and multicultural ad campaigns as well. So it's interesting to see the direction that company is going to go as well. And Coach just signed an endorsement deal with Quincy, P. Diddy's son Quincy. So he's now endorsing Coach, who of course, even before COVID, had been going through a lot of fiscal transition with the economy and closing a number of its stores. So, and many of the luxury brands since COVID have actually stopped production in their plants. So it's interesting also that clothing brand Eloquii, with those of you not familiar, is Eloquii, which mostly caters to plus size. They're a bit more expensive than Lane Bryant, but they're not as expensive as, say, a Nordstrom's or Lord & Taylor. So now they are giving Rent the Runway a run for its money. So they are now, in the next few months, they're going to be launching a wardrobe rental service for all sizes. So that's really super, super exciting. So we're interested to see that. I mean, back when event life was still happening before COVID, I really loved to utilize Rent the Runway. What was great about them is that you could pick a date that you needed a dress or something delivered, like if you had a function or occasion, you didn't have time to shop or you weren't seeing things out there that you liked. You could set your filters of when you needed it delivered, your area, your price range, the type of thing you're looking for, and then it would pull all these dresses or pieces, and then you could run it for 4 days. You could have a complimentary size thrown in there, so if you weren't sure if you were, say, an 8 or a 10, how's it run, you could order both, and then they would send you a bag and return postage, which was really cool. So then you just wore it, then packed it up and shipped it back. And for someone like myself, who you go to lots and lots of events and red carpets, hosting things, each time you go to events, you take pictures, then it's out on social media, then people have seen it, commented on it, you can't really wear it again or not for a long time. And unless you have partnerships and sponsorships, it gets expensive having, a hot new look every single time and whatnot. So the renting was something that I really loved at times, because I could just rent this piece, wear it, send it back, and then I didn't have to worry about accumulating a bunch of looks and dresses and things that I could only wear like once or twice, or especially if you've been photographed and that look makes it into a magazine. You can't just keep wearing the same things over and over again to appearances, So I think that's awesome that there's another company out there who's going to be offering us different choices for when we actually get back to event life and all that good stuff. So now in TV news, speaking of the Real, so Real Housewives of Atlanta co-star and actress Gabrielle Bouvois is joining, Garcelle Bouvois is joining the talk show The Real. So of course Tia Mowry recently quit, and one of the other co-hosts. So now Bouvois is joining The Real talk show. So it'll be interesting to see if she is going to maintain her role on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I believe The Real films in New York City. I mean, assuming that they're not couldn't do everything remotely from people's homes. That would be a lot to juggle, going back from New York to Atlanta all the time, especially right now where there's all the COVID safety considerations. And so now other TV news as well is Tyra Banks, of course, who is the producer and creator of cultural juggernaut America's Next Top Model. Well, apparently she is going to be taking over as host of Dancing with the Stars, who, of course, Dancing with the Stars has been hosted by Tom Bergeron, who started out as a game show host for many years, and hosted different kind of TV variety shows, America's Funniest Home Videos, and those kinds of things. So he hosted the show for over 15 years. So now apparently they're bringing in Tyra Banks as the host. So it's going to be really interesting to see the direction that the show goes. Of course, Tyra had a talk show that didn't really last that long. She's done some acting before, And she had said in a recent statement that she's excited to bring new ideas to the show. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction that show goes. I'm a little perplexed why they're really starting that process right now, since how are they going to do Dancing with the Stars when we all have to social distance and mask? When obviously if you're dancing and you're rehearsing and stuff, you're sweating. And one of the ways in which we pass COVID is through bodily fluids. So I'm really kind of perplexed how the show thinks this is going to work when we're in the middle of a pandemic, and, you know, pretty much all concerts and whatnot have been postponed to the spring of 2021. And most studios have stopped production or like filming and whatnot. And if they are doing filming, they're taking various precautions to keep people safe while we fight through the pandemic. But how's that working in a dance show when the whole crux of the show is that you're partnering and dancing? So I'm just kind of a little like, like, why now? And how's that going to work? But, of course, everybody in TV and entertainment is really kind of pivoting and flexing. We haven't experienced anything like this before in our generation, and we're all kind of finding our way. We're still going to be creative and productive and create content during this time, but I think the most important thing is that we're just maintaining in our mind about being responsible and safe, and that we're thinking, you know, of other safety. So I know we all miss concerts and fashion shows and clubs, and, you know, my birthday's coming up in October, and I'm thinking, okay, great, well, what am I going to do, you know? But we have to think bigger than just ourselves. So, again, I don't know how they're going to run Dancing with the Stars when we have to social, like, we can't even open up clubs. We can't even go out dancing at a nightclub, but yet you're going to be talking. You're going to be talking about, oh, the new season of Dancing with the Stars. I mean, so whatever. But, you know, we can dance in our hearts and dance in our spirits. And, you know, there's this new app, House Party, which is fun. Like, I'm still continuing to see a lot of virtual events and dance party events where there's actually, this weekend is Michael Jackson. Speaking of dancing and virtual events, so this weekend is Michael Jackson's birthday. So there is, my internet connection is god awful right now. But I know that there is a virtual event that's advertised on Facebook where you can log in via Zoom link, and they're encouraging everybody to kind of come dressed in their sparkly glove and their favorite Michael Jackson inspired fashion, and they're going to be playing all of Michael Jackson's hits and encouraging people to dance and kind of come together. And it's great, like all these different apps and sites that are enabling us to come together in groups and safely. Now in Philadelphia, starting on September 8th, they're going to start dining in. So, but I'm kind of walking in that carefully. I don't know, because we haven't flattened across the whole country. And I know, I mean, I'm right there too. I'm eager to be able to step back to how things were, but we don't want to be rushing into things too fast, where we're just stabilizing and then we get a wave because people forget themselves and think, hey, I don't have to protect myself. Forget it. Hey, everything's cool, you know, as we're not quite out of the woods yet. So, you know, everybody stay safe, stay responsible out there. Live your day with purpose, and know that every day is a new day for you to do impactful and positive things. So we're closing out for this week. You can follow me on Instagram at the Laura Mazurek. Of course, you can like and follow the Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends Facebook page. I welcome your requests and your comments, and I give a shout out to all my listeners and followers on FM World Pakistan, The Voice. So we're now on in 4 time slots and 2 radio stations out in the Pakistan market. So I truly say from the other side of the world, thank you for the love. And I'm glad that you're enjoying the show. Thank you to our London listeners, our listeners in Africa, California, all over the world. And I want to give a special shout out of love to, of course, our show. Older episodes are available on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Alexa, Google Podcasts, and I get all my analytics. So I want to say thank you to my regular listeners and downloaders in Virginia, Ghana, Paris, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Lansdale, and Switzerland. Because percentage-wise, you guys are always the ones that are flooding and downloading the show. So, hey, thanks for the love. We'll be back next week. Until then, stay strong and stay beautiful. And I'm taking you out on our last musical break. Have a wonderful and empowered and uplifting day.
This guy has a burn in hell poster. You don't have to hate, because my Jesus loves all.
You wanna play, you wanna stay, you wanna have it all. You started messing with my head until I hit a wall. Maybe I should've known, maybe I should've known that you would walk out the door. Hey, said we were done and met someone and rubbed it in my face. Cut to the part, she broke your heart and then she ran away. I guess you should've known, I guess you should've known that I would talk. But even if the stars and moon collide, I never want you back into my life. You can take your words and all your lies. I really don't care. Even if the stars and moon collide, I never want you back into my life. You can take your words and all your lies. I really don't care. I really don't care. I can't believe I ever stayed up writing songs about you. You don't deserve to know the way I used to think about you. Oh no, not anymore. Oh no, not anymore. You had your shot, but you let go. Now if we meet out on the street, I won't be running scared. I'll walk right up to you and put one finger in the air and make you understand, You had your chance, but even if the stars and moon collide, I never want you back into my life. You can take your words and all your lies. I really don't care. Even if the stars and moon collide, I never want you back into my life. You can take your words and all Yeah, listen up. Hey, hey, never look back. Don't stroke, boy, ego intact. Look, boy, why you so mad? Second guessing, but should've hit that. Hey, Danny, you picked the wrong lover. Should I pick that one? It's cuter than the other. I just wanna laugh cause you're trying to be a hipster. Kick it to the curb, take a Polaroid picture. But even if the stars and moon collide, I'll never want you back into my life. You can take your words, ignore your lies. I really don't care. Even if the stars and moon collide, I never want you back into my life. You can take your words, ignore your lies. I really don't care. I really don't care. Desperately seeking someone willing to travel. You're lost in conversation and useless at Scrabble. Happiness will never last. Darkness comes to kick your ass. So let's dance to all of this. War is over for a bit. The whole world should be moving to your heart. You're a lonely heart. Your disco needs you. Your disco needs you. We're sold on vanity, but that's so see-through. Take your body to the floor. Your disco needs you. From Soho to Singapore, from the mainland to the shore. So let's dance to all of this. War is over for a bit. You're a slave to the rhythm. Do your part. You're a lonely Vous êtes jamais seul. Vous savez ce qu'il faut faire. Ne laissez pas tomber votre nation.